back of Ingebrigtsen is going to do in the 1500. He has time to look behind him. 20 years of age, and he is on top of the world.
But coming down for a maiden national crown, Cornwall is the champion.
Garouge has run his race, or has he? Has he got anything left? El Garouge trying to get there. Kipchoge, the junior's there. El Garouge is trying to get to the line. Kenya wins it. Kipchoge takes
Vivian Chariot's turn. And what a proud moment for her and the Kenyans. The first woman from her nation to take the 5,000 metre title. Vivian Chariot's in Dreamland.
on the outside. Ollie Hoare of Australia comes. Jake Whiteman has just spent. It's going to be Chariot and Hoare. Who's going to get it? It's going to be Australia. The gold.
Pre-order now and make a difference. Experience the ultimate in trail running with the Tarkine Trail Devil. With its impressive combination of eco-friendly materials and advanced technology, this footwear is designed to conquer any terrain. Whether you're looking to run UTMB or simply explore the great outdoors, the Tarkine Trail Devil offers unmatched versatility, support, durability and comfort. Featuring a lightweight and responsive design with loads of support, your legs will thank you as you crush personal bests and conquer new terrain. With our company focused on sustainability and ethical manufacturing processes, you can feel good about your impact on the planet. Also, as a pre-order promotion, you have the opportunity to decide where 10% of your order fee will be donated. All pre-orders will receive their shoes during May to June 2023. Visit tarkine.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, an icon of Australian distance running joins us here today with 25 years experience at the highest level of our sport. Having contributed so much to running, not-for-profit and for-purpose initiatives, both on and off the track, Eloise Wellings is a name that reverberates to dedication, performance, grace, kindness and honesty with whoever she comes across, whether that be fellow Olympians or locals jogging around the Sylvania Waters Athletics track with her in the Sutherland Shire of Sydney. Having 2 top 10 performances over the 5 and 10,000 metres at the Rio Olympics and currently trying to better a 2:25:10 marathon personal best to make yet another Olympic team in Paris next year, I'd like to introduce the one and only Elsie to the Runners Tribe podcast here today. Welcome, Elsie.
Hey, James. Wow, what an intro. Thank you.
I worked hard on that one. Not really. It was all off the top of my head. Didn't really have that.
Oh, that was kind. Thanks.
You're
How you doing?
Oh, no, I'm well. I think we're on a little bit of a delay as well. So apologies if I cut you off at any point over the next hour or so. I was just going to say you're at home at the moment in beautiful Sutherland Shire.
I'm close to home. I'm actually at our Love Mercy office today. I'm in my lunch break. But yeah, I'm hiding here in the storeroom. Team's out there in the office. They can probably still hear me. I bet they're laughing at me. But yeah, no, here at the office on Wednesdays, which is fun, with the team. But yeah, did a easy 22K this morning before I came up, and yeah, just ticking out the miles.
I love it. Easy 22K. You wouldn't be able to say that for most runners, but we'll get into some of the initiatives that you're so heavily involved with in a second. I just wanted to kick off with your last event, the Sydney 10, out here at Sydney Olympic Park about a week and a half ago. You took the win in that one. Your first Sydney 10 in 8 years. I just wanted to ask, I guess, a couple of questions on both personally, where you, I guess, were in your career in 2015. It was a year before the amazing Rio Olympic campaign you had. And I guess any differences with how you approached that race as to what you would have 8 years ago?
To be honest, I don't really remember much about 2015 Sydney 10. I remember having fun every time I've done that race. It's such a well-organised race. And, you know, kudos to you, James, and your team for putting on such a fun event. I do remember getting back, feeling really good in 2015. You know, been to the Commonwealth Games previous year. Indy was about, she was almost 2 years old. By 2015. And so, I was back into what I'd say like higher level of training and racing, and ready to kick off some road races and then into some track overseas. I remember it's actually a really perfect time to have a 10K road race like that, especially on a reasonably fast course, and there's not a lot around at this time of year, but having the Sydney 10 on at this time of year is actually really helpful going into a track season. And it was one of my most successful track seasons in 2015, so I was glad to kick it off with the Sydney 10 before I left for Europe.
Fantastic. I want to jump forward in time to pretty much now, and you're an out-and-out marathoner now, which is it's a big jump. I actually remember when you made that jump as well. We were at Bankstown with about 3 other runners and 4 other people, and you were trying a last-ditch effort to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics in the 5,000 meters. Didn't quite pull it off. I think I remember having a couple of words to you pretty much 30 seconds after the finish line saying, "Yep, marathon time now."
It was an interesting time. That it was strange. And we'll never go through that time again. I'm hoping, in that, we're trying to qualify for an Olympic Games on this bare track. There was a splattering of family and friends that came to watch me, which was amazing. Felt like I had a lot of support. But it was just so different, which I imagine the actual Olympic Games was, with no crowd and, not much atmosphere and energy in the stadium. But, just simply wasn't fast enough to get the time, and did everything that I could, put everything into it, and unfortunately just wasn't able to get the time. And it was disappointing. I took some days, probably a couple of weeks if I'm honest, to kind of grieve the disappointment. And because you spend a good chunk of the build up actually helping your, getting your brain and your mind to believe that this could happen. And so then when it does, there's a letdown, and there's some resolving to do in your head. And so I took that time, and then it wasn't long before Nick and I spoke and started to talk about the next thing. And that I've always, well, not always, that's a lie, I've for a long time been thinking about doing a marathon. It was just a matter of when the right time was. And then seemed like the right time. And, it was tricky to find one that I could get to, because we basically went into lockdown straight after I had a crack at that 5K for Tokyo. The second lockdown or third, I can't even remember now, but thankfully Nick was able to get me a start in the London Marathon, and I had a new goal, and I felt like, okay, I've got something fresh to work towards. I still love running. I still feel like I've got a lot to give here. I need a new challenge. I want something new. And the marathon seemed like the best next thing to move up to. And I was definitely apprehensive because of, the uncertainty and the unknown and how it was going to feel. I think I said to my training partner, a couple of times a week in the build up, in that sort of 9 or 10 weeks prior, I wonder what this is going to feel like, and he'd never done one either. So he couldn't tell me, but it's just this question that I'd put out there that would just kind of hang. And he was always just kind of like, you're about to find out, and I think that's how I went into London, just really curious about what could be possible, and definitely afraid, and definitely fear of how painful it might be, or uncomfortable, or what might happen, or whether I could make the distance, all of these thoughts that your brain sort of comes up with when there's a threat or a potential threat. And, it was just about kind of quietening that voice and going, like, I'm here for this, and this is what I want to do, and leaning into that challenge and leaning into what could be was what gets you to the start line, and obviously then what gets you to the finish. And yeah, it was an incredible experience, that first London Marathon. To run a major for my first one was amazing, because the crowd was incredible. The UK weren't in lockdown anymore, so it was a completely different environment to what I'd come from in Australia. And yeah, had the time of my life out there and thought, I want to do that again, and I can't wait to do that again. Like, I just started thinking about when I was going to do another one as soon as I crossed the finish line. As much as it hurt and as much as physically spent I was, it was such a buzz to accomplish something like a full marathon.
You had a superb start. You ran 2:29 in your debut. So to go sub 2:30 is absolutely no mean feat. I thought you had a great run. And I was lucky enough to actually talk to you just before and just after that race as well. And I think we went through almost K by K for about 90 minutes, which I absolutely loved that chat at the time. You've run 5 more since then. You've gone 2:29, 2:29, 2:25:10, which was your PB at Nagoya in 2022. 2:30, 2:34, and then 2:32 at Nagoya again this year. So it's sort of been like a wild ride, the first 6, and all in the space of about 18 months as well, which is quite incredible. There's probably not many elite marathoners going around doing the first 6 in the first 18 months. Just describe, I guess, are you happy with where you are as a marathon at this stage in your career?
Yeah, I am happy. I mean, I was like, this every single marathon that I've done, whether it's been like the performance that I was after or not, I've learned from it, and I know that it's going to set me up for my next good day. And my last couple of marathons have been disappointing. New York, I didn't feel like I ran as well as I expected, and then Nagoya again. And I mean, there was reasons for these, and I could go into them. I found out I had low iron, a month out from Nagoya this year. Had to get that sorted. I had some tummy issues, and then I had gastro the week before. I almost didn't run Nagoya this year. But I did, and I decided to, and that was my decision, and I committed to that. And yeah, you just kind of have to, once you commit, it's kind of, well, once I commit, I'm kind of like, I'm in this and I'm going to finish. And yeah, it wasn't, I guess, the experience that I was hoping for, but I still learned a lot. There was still a lot of things that I was really proud of. Still many things in the races that haven't gone well that I'm really proud of, and I can still look back and go, oh, yeah, these are the things that went really well. These are the things that I want to do better with next time. These are things that I can address. And there was a poor race in Maragami half marathon that I did that caused me basically to go, something is not quite right here. I am not feeling myself, and caused me to go and get a blood test and find out that, yeah, like my iron levels were extremely low. And I've never had low iron before. So it was a matter of like working out the cause, and, we got on top of that. And, but it was just kind of a little bit late for Nagoya this year. So, there's all, I feel like in the marathon, to have a really great race, most things need to go right, and the 1%ers show up as 10%ers the longer you go. So gastro the week before a 10K race isn't going to show, you might not even notice. And I've been sick the week before a 10K race, and recovered and been okay in a 10K the week after. but in a marathon, you can't really afford to have that, I guess, setback in the week before. And but again, like, I decided to race, and I was all in. I'd done all the training. I still believe that, I could potentially get away with it, and I did for a little bit, and then until I didn't. And it's just all learning, I guess. And yeah, I mean, here I am. I'm getting ready for another one, and excited about the possibility of that. And yeah, I think I still finished Nagoya this year thinking about what marathon I was going to do next. I still was, and I still finished New York thinking about what marathon I was going to do next. And yeah, so I still feel like I've got a lot to give. My training shows that, my headspace shows that, motivation and all of those things, I think, play a big part in, your consistency and your ability to be able to perform at a high level. And those things are all, still going really well. And so I think I just need to keep putting in the work and showing up, and, keep believing for more good days.
Yeah, I think when you talk about finishing the marathon and thinking about the next one, so many people have exactly the same mental attitude. I know I've felt the same way. There'll be 6-hour marathoners that have felt the same way as well. So it's really interesting to hear that you're going through some of the same mindsets as what all the rest of us are going through. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's
sorry you go on. Sorry,
delay.
that's the delay I was talking about. Sorry, you go on.
No, it's all good. I was going to say, we're like professional athletes or sub-elite or, weekend warriors. We're no different to any, we're not different. Like, our brain is going to find things to be fearful of, and it's about, getting the tools and the skills to be able to overcome those. And yeah, and I think that when you have a disappointing race, it's about, being real and honest, and then just trying to move on as quickly as you can and look at the next good thing.
I can imagine in your 15 hours there or thereabouts in marathoning so far, there's probably a couple of standout memories. Maybe the crowd in New York, yep. Indian sunny at the Com Games on the sidelines in Birmingham. What are some of the, what are a couple of things outside of the times themselves that really stand out to you? Think, okay, I made the right choice here to become a marathoner?
I think if I went through them one by one, it'd be London going across Tower Bridge. Crazy, like, deafening crowd. Couldn't hear myself breathing anymore. And at that point, I was heavy breathing. It was up. I think it was just after halfway, and like, I could hear myself breathing normally. Then running towards the finish line, down, just down near Buckingham Palace. Then Melbourne Marathon, doing it with my friend Rory, like Johnny riding the bike is out, with my drinks, with my special drinks, him yahooing and being like being my hype guy, especially in the last 10K, having to stop to go to the toilet in that race, which was awkward, and every runner's worst nightmare, but overcoming that and qualifying for Com Games and World Champs. And then Com Games, or Nagoya actually was before then. Nagoya, coming into the finish line, not knowing what time I was on, because I was just in flow, what I think was flow for pretty well most of the race, not considering what time I was on, just being completely present. And then coming into the dome that you finish in and seeing the finishing time and just being completely shocked. It was a cool moment. And then, like, not really being able to walk after I crossed the finish line. Com Games, see my family, my kids on the sidelines cheering me on. That was cool. Got to give India a high five as I went by at one point. That was really special and something I know that she will never forget. Johnny was on the drink stations at Com Games as well, on the 5 or 10K drink station, which was great. And New York, it was my birthplace. Mum and Dad came over. My sister came over with her partner, and they were getting around on the subway, and just cheering me on. And the fun that we had over there, just because it was New York City. And then Nagoya, just everything that I learned, giving it a good crack, going out the fastest that I've ever gone out in a marathon to halfway, and putting myself out there and believing for a really good day and not having it pay off, but still knowing that it will happen eventually if I keep, getting the work done. Yeah, they were the highlights.
Yeah, it's a really good summary. And I was actually lucky enough to be in New York that day to see you and Jess go past. And I haven't been to London, but I just remember the crowds. I don't think really anyone cared that much what they were running. It was a very humid day as well, it has to be said. Everyone's times were down. But just the crowds were phenomenal. So I'd love to run that one myself one day too.
Yeah, you should.
The World Majors. So that's a nice segue into the next thing I want to pick up. You're an ambassador for the Sydney Marathon, and it's getting a lot of discussion around it at the moment for good reason. It's one of the candidates for the World Major Marathon Series. I'm aiming to become the 7th World Major in our home country, which will be a phenomenal effort. I want to just talk about, I guess, some of the challenges around the event, and one that's been really highlighted by Wayne, the race director, and a lot of other runners around Sydney and Australia as a whole, is getting enough people actually running the marathon. Because, to be honest, Australia's not a marathon country. We have a lot of runners, but we have a lot of 10K and half marathoners. What do you think some of the key things for people to take that big step up from, having run 1 or 2 half marathons to actually challenge themselves to run a marathon for the first time? What are the couple of, I guess, pieces of advice that you would have for those people who might be on the fence at the moment?
Yeah, I think just believing that they can do it, believing that they can run the distance of a marathon. The cutoff time is 7 hours now. You can walk jog a marathon in that time, and there is no shame in walking. Lots of people walk in parts of a marathon. Even some of the elite runners walk parts of the marathon. You saw Safan Hassan in the London Marathon a couple of weeks ago stop and stretch her quad. There is no shame in stopping in walking parts of a marathon and just really conquering the distance. It's not about the time. It's just about getting through the distance, and that will be the biggest challenge. And there's uncertainty, but I think turning uncertainty into opportunity. People might be thinking, I've never run that far. I don't know if I can. But it's totally normal to feel fear and apprehension about the unknown. Our brains actually crave, certainty and control, but life is full of uncertainty. It's about learning to embrace, uncertainty with curiosity. And that's all I did in my first marathon. And I know that's what many other people have done before they've run their first marathon. There's always fear, always uncertainty. There's not one person standing on the starting line that doesn't have fear of the unknown. But when you embrace a marathon as an opportunity to lean into that unknown, you just open up great possibilities. And it's here, it's in that place that you learn that you can count on yourself to do difficult things. You can count on yourself to do hard things. And that's what I'd say to someone who's kind of on the cusp of wondering whether they should step up in distance to the marathon. And I mean, what an opportunity to be part of history, to help Sydney get across the line as a candidate for a major marathon. And Sydney is an iconic city. It is a beautiful city. We get to run across the Harbour Bridge. You get to see so many other landmarks around Sydney, and the course is stunning. And I'm really believing for Sydney to become, an iconic marathon like New York, like these other major marathoners these other major marathons that people want to come out and watch, and that people want to come out and run. That they basically, they work their whole schedule, fitness training schedule around for this one race per year, where they have just an absolute blast. And and they learn that they can do difficult things. So yeah, really excited, super privileged to be an ambassador for Sydney Marathon, and can't wait to hear all of the stories of people that were sitting at home wondering whether they should do it, and thinking of all of these fears and doubts and nervous worries, and then going, stuff it, I'm just going to register, and I'm going to take one day at a time, do all the physical work. I'm going to learn the mental skills to help me gain confidence that I can actually do this, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to see what's possible. I can't wait to hear those stories.
That doesn't motivate you to run 42.195. Well said, Elsie. Just looking at it from a slightly different perspective, and off air, we were just talking about, I guess, the professionalization of marathons. And I guess in Australia, it's no secret that money's pretty few and far between for elite runners. The actual professionalization component of having a world major, I guess the commercial opportunities for up-and-coming athletes in Australia, it's a huge leg up probably for our sport as a whole, not just for actually engaging in the community, but maybe engaging that next to sub-elite talent and getting them to sort of a world-class level. What are some of the opportunities that will come about from the world major, but then maybe after 25, 26, when it does get this, or if and when it gets the that major status? And I guess in the lead into things like the Olympics in Brisbane 2032, because it just seems to me that all these sort of stars for our athletes are aligning a little bit here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there's a huge opportunity for sub-elite runners. I mean, even with the Australian Championships for clubs and age groups now at the Sydney Marathon, and then obviously with the opportunity for the already professional runners, the elite runners, to run on a course like Sydney, to be part of a major marathon like Sydney. It's a huge privilege to run a major marathon, and professional runners don't take that lightly. And if when we do get across the line as a major, I think it'll be a huge boost for running in general, for athletics, for getting people moving around Australia as we head towards the Brisbane 2032. The Sydney Marathon was a legacy event of the Sydney Olympics, and there's no mistake in that. There's I can see that history and that momentum that we're building now will carry us through to those Olympics, and hopefully really encourage a lot of families and kids that are already moving to keep moving, and or to get moving, and also for club runners and age groupers alike as well. It provides a fantastic opportunity for competition and on a national stage.
Excellent. I want to get on to one of your many, I'll call off the road now, no longer off the track, off the road initiatives, and one that I really resonate with. I did psychology at uni. Your training partner, Rory Darkins, is doing a PhD, I think, in performance psychology. You've teamed up to basically create a couple of different courses. One's called the Marathon State of Mind, which is the exclusive to the Sydney Marathon, but the other one as well is the Young Athlete State of Mind. These are really interesting concepts because so often we talk about splits, mileage, training plans, race recaps in distance running, and in my opinion, far not enough on all the other stuff around it, particularly on the mental side of marathoning. It's such a mental game, particularly as you go up in distance. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what that course involves, but I guess just the things that you've learned on the way, and not just over the past 18 months, but over the 25-year career you've had on the mental side of things, and how important that is to not only get the best time, but the best out of yourself when you're racing.
Yeah, thanks, James. Yeah, we're really excited about our Marathon State of Mind. Marathon State of Mind is the brand, I guess, and under that is a couple of courses that we're now offering. And one of them is the Young Athlete State of Mind course. It goes for 3 weeks, and as you said, I've been working with my training partner Rory, who's a psychology practitioner. He's a mental skills coach to high performers around the world. He's my mental skills coach. We linked up about 8 years ago, and we've been speaking in schools and presenting corporately as well. A presentation called Unlock Your Olympian Mindset. And yeah, just in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, we have been talking and developing this course specific to young athletes. And I guess it came about because I know how challenging it can be for a young athlete. My teenage years were riddled with self-doubt and comparison and injuries and pressure and nerves. And, I was training so hard physically, but it never occurred to me that I could transform my experience by just training my mind. And, through my 25 years, as you said, as a professional athlete, I've since learned that we can train our minds like we train our bodies. And I wish I knew that when I was 15. It would have saved me a lot of heartache, and it would have helped me to enjoy my sport a lot more. And yeah, that's why I teamed up with Rory, and it's basically to empower young athletes with the mental skills that they need to thrive in sport, but just not just in sport, in life as well. And yeah, we're super passionate about supporting young athletes and on from a range of different sports. It's not just athletics, not just running. On our course at the moment, so we're actually going through our first one at the moment. We've got soccer players, football players, obviously runners, but from a range of different sports, because the mental skills that you need as a young athlete, they're across the board. It doesn't change just because of the sport that you play. The skills that you can learn to build confidence are the same across the board. And yeah, it's really, really exciting for us to be able to offer this finally, and specifically to young athletes, because as I said, yeah, super passionate about helping athletes to build the mental skills that they need to thrive in sport and in life. And yeah, it's a 3-week course, and we have a live call every Sunday, and then during the week they have the online component and the app component and training journal and things like that. And then we go through everything, go through all the themes and any questions that they might have on the live call. And yeah, just the feedback that we're getting so far from these young people has been so incredible. And yeah, such a privilege to be on their team. And yeah, so we'd love to do this with as many young athletes as possible, whether elite or a sub-elite, or, it doesn't matter whether just starting out in sport. And, it doesn't matter who you are. And I think that's one of the things that we identified as well, is that, a lot of the time these sorts of courses are only accessible to young elite athletes, and we wanted to make it accessible to everyone. because it doesn't matter what your performance is, or how good you are at a certain sport. If you're passionate enough about it and it's something that you want to do, these things are going to come up. These, as I said, all of those challenges, the self-doubt, the injuries and the pressure and the nerves, they're all going to come up. And it's about learning the mental skills and to be able to overcome those things in order to have a really good experience. But not just have a good experience, the research around learning these mental skills and applying them, and the correlation between that and high performance is massive. So you actually perform better when you can learn these tools and skills to be able to control your mental game. And then the marathon State of Mind course is a 6-week course specifically for marathon runners, and we've teamed up exclusively with the Sydney Marathon to be able to take all of the marathon runners through a course in order to run, their best marathon and have their best marathon experience. So yeah, super excited about that too. Obviously starting that about 6 weeks before the Sydney Marathon this year. And if that's you, if you've signed up and registered for the Sydney Marathon, you can go online and register for the course.
Oh, awesome. That's great. I wish it was around 10 years ago, because I ran my first marathon in 2013. It was 10 years ago. Geez, that goes quick. And
wow.
I can tell you right there, if I had a couple of mental skills at 35K, I reckon we've done a lot better. So yeah, that's really cool. And all the best. I'm really looking forward to hearing the progress and how you go with sort of year one with the Sydney Marathon, and yeah, keep in touch with that. That's fantastic. The other thing, the other initiative, the For Purpose initiative that you're involved in, that a lot of people will know that you're involved in, is of course the Love Mercy Foundation. In year 13 or 14, I think now. It started in 20.
Yeah, year 13. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. So of course founded with Sydney
Julius.
Julius Achon, actually made the semi-final of the Sydney Olympics in the 1500 meters. Didn't know that. So a phenomenal athlete, a Ugandan man, and you met up with him and basically saw the need to basically help in a region that needed help. And you've gone on to do some wonderful things, raising a lot of awareness, a lot of money for some very underprivileged communities and women as well in Uganda. Do you want to just talk about, I guess, how that 13 years has affected you personally, but then also you went back a couple of months ago to sort of see a lot of the work that's been done in those communities. There's some beautiful imagery on your Instagram of it, which I love following along with as well. And I guess just, how it's changed your life for the better.
Yeah, it has changed my life for the better. I think, meeting Julius, I just missed out. Well, I just got injured and was potentially about to miss the 3rd Olympics that I'd tried out for. And so I was in a real, really difficult place. I wasn't sure, whether I was meant to be running anymore. Wasn't sure if I wanted to be running anymore. I was pretty despondent about the sport, was despondent about my body and it not holding up to the training that I needed to do, that I felt that I needed to do to be a great athlete. And so, meeting Julius was, a pivotal moment in my life, and hearing his story and his vision for his communities and to help people get back on their feet after 25 years of civil war was inspiring and humbling. And teaming up with him, it was fun. To be honest, we became really great friends from the outset, and it was hard, but I think he brings a real lightness to every friendship and to everything that he does, and that really helped, I think, to kick things off. And No, I think I just found real purpose in my running after that. After starting Love Mercy and running, it took on a greater purpose for me. And so, yeah, it's been such a privilege to be able to do this for the last 13 years. And yeah, we exist to help communities have access to education, clean water, and income generating projects. And yeah, I was able to go back last year for the first time since COVID, and just see the impact of all of the fundraising and the projects that our team on the ground go through, and have been working on for the last 13 years. And just to go back and actually have feet on the ground and see the impact and be able to share stories and listen to stories of testimony and stories of change was incredibly powerful. And, I think it was so refreshing as well. A lot of our role back here in Australia is fundraising, and it's James is saying, yourself, it's not easy, but we have some wonderful relationships, and we have a wonderful community of supporters, locally and globally. And yeah, that really believe in the initiatives and believe in the cause, believe in the vision. And I think it's really just about helping people to see that they can make a difference on the other side of the world with a small amount of money, and they can make a huge impact. And to me, there's purpose in that. Purpose comes from making an impact in the people in the world around you. And that's what our Love Mercy community, our Love Mercy family are about. And yeah, it's exciting to go and visit the wells that we have been able to drill in the last 3 years, since the last time we've been back. And one of them was in the primary school, and we saw all of the kids at lunchtime just playing on this grass field. And I was thinking of my daughter, who's also primary school age. She's in year 4, and I asked Julius where the nearest well was that they had been drinking out of, and he pointed a couple of 100 meters away to a swamp that that was their previous water source, and they had been drinking out of a swamp that they'd been sharing with cattle. And I have heard, over the last 13 years, we've experienced stories like this before, and it motivates us to do more. And but yeah, that was a powerful moment, just actually seeing the impact that it will have on these kids' lives to be able to drink clean water during school, before school, after school, not having to leave school to go and walk to a clean water source, which was 3 kilometers away. Not have to drink from a swamp, which was 200 meters away. Having clean water at your primary school, how cool! And it was, $7,500, and somebody from Australia said, "Hey, I can do that. I can," and that's the transaction. It's someone, who's in a privileged position, who is privileged merely because of where they were born, going, I have that amount of money and I can make a difference to 500 primary school kids, within a month, and have this well drilled and give them clean water. And yeah, it's incredible to be able to then go back to that particular supporter and go, this is life-changing. And your generosity and being able to do this because your business has been going well, or you needed a tax deduction. I don't know. Yeah, it's incredibly powerful, and it's why we do what we do, to see the change that we see. And yeah, it was really wonderful to go back again last month. And yeah, Julius is actually coming this Saturday, and he's staying with us for the next 10 days. And we're going to go visit a few of our donors, and yeah, just take him around. And it's been 3 years since he's been able to visit Australia as well. He visited just before COVID, so it'd be really nice for some of our donors to hear from him, and for him to share stories of change and impact. And yeah, we're going to go on a couple of runs. And yeah, obviously our mother run is going on at the moment, so it's where we've got a community of over 100 people this year running 5K a day in May, to raise money for our Christina Health Clinic in Uganda, and for the maternity ward at the Christina Health Clinic. So we're trying to raise money for that space, and for some renovations for the antenatal unit, and also for a new ultrasound machine. Just to be really detailed on you, we're going to get an ultrasound machine. We're hoping to raise enough money for an ultrasound machine that shows the blood going from the placenta, the blood flow going from the placenta to the baby, which is not what the current ultrasound machine does. It does a lot of things. It can tell whether mums are having multiple births, which is amazing. It can obviously see the heartbeat and things like that. But this one will be huge in terms of diagnostic tools, and being able to see that blood flow from the placenta to the baby. And any woman or man who's been part of that experience in an ultrasound when you're pregnant will know how crucial that is. So really excited to be able to. The goal is $50,000. So if you want to donate, go into lovemercyfoundation.org, and you can sponsor anyone. My little girl Indy's doing 2K a school day, which has been super fun, super challenging for her, actually, 2K a school day. And yeah, I'm obviously doing 5K a day, but nobody really sponsors me, because they're like, Elsie, you just do that all the time. But if you go onto our website and find someone, there's a lot of people that this is really challenging for. 5K a day is a real challenge for a full month. So if you go onto our website and just pick a couple of names and just, make someone's day and flick them a donation, it would really put a boost into their step for the last sort of 13 days that we have left of this month.
Well, I'm pretty blown away at the moment. That's more than most are doing. Congratulations on everything. I'm sure we'll put a link in there in the show notes as well, for when we get this out, hopefully later this week, to give a good 10 days or so to everyone to get on board the Mother Run campaign. So thanks for putting some light on that. Elsie, I just wanted to jump back onto some running chat. I wanted to touch on your last Olympics, because obviously you're trying to go for the Marathon Paris, but your Rio campaign was something pretty extraordinary. 9th in the 5,000 meter final and 10th in the 10,000 meter final. You also had to run a 5K heat to get into that final, so just a casual 20K. It was a phenomenal campaign. Just those times as well: 15:01 for 9th in the 5,000 final and 31:14 for the 10,000 meter final. It's extraordinary times. Do you want to just take us back to Rio for a second, and what your thoughts were going into both those finals, and having the mindset of actually going up and putting yourself right in amongst the absolute might of the Africans, and this era, the 20 terms were all about the Kenyans and Ethiopians.
I just remember being so ready. I remember, we had a full month in Laguna, which is in California, Mount Laguna, our training base, and at altitude. And there was about 12 of us there, including little Indy. She was like the little mascot for the whole team. I remember Brett Robbo playing hopscotch with her quite regularly out out in the car park between training sessions. But yeah, I mean, we just had an amazing camp. I was really fit. I was mentally in a really good headspace and just ready to lean into to any possibility. And I remember just being super excited about the opportunity to run for Australia again at another Olympics. And I think in London, my first Olympics, I didn't take a lot of risks, and that was intentional. Nick was so much about getting me to the starting line at the London Olympics and ticking that box and living that dream, which I was so grateful for, and really grateful for his wisdom and guidance in that, because I probably wouldn't have made those decisions to kind of conserve and preserve myself otherwise. But he was like, we just need to get there this time. We need to get there for you, for the sake of your future in the sport. We need to make sure that you live this dream. And but yeah, Rio 4 years later, it was a different conversation. He was like, if you want to go and ruffle some feathers in Rio, you need to take some measured risks. And that was a conversation we had in January of 2016. So sort of 6 months from the Olympics. We're at Falls Creek, and he said, you know, we're going to take some measured risks. We're going to go all in. We're not going to cut 30% of your mileage this time. You're a more robust, stronger athlete. You haven't been injured in, you know, many years. Well, hadn't had a stress fracture at that point for 5 years. So I was confident that I was like really healthy in terms of bone density and all of those sort of markers that show good health and vitality, and show that I was ready to you know, put in a really good foundation of training. And so yeah, we did that, and yeah, I was just so glad that it paid off. And making the final with Genevieve and Madeline was really special too. It was the first time we'd ever had 3 Australian women in the final. Jen and I had done the whole build up together in Mount Laguna, and just doing that with her was, you know, something that we'll never forget too. Just going through the whole roller coaster ride of emotions of, you know, the training camp to, you know, the pre-camp in Florida, and then the actual Olympics, and we roomed together. So and then just making the final, lying in bed the night before the final, going, "Are you awake?" "Yup." "Are you awake?" Like just like schoolgirls, like just not really knowing what was ahead of us, but being ready for anything. And yeah, it was just a magical experience is how I would describe it. And yeah, one that I'll never forget. But both Olympics were completely different in terms of performances, and there was a reason for that. And you know, there was good reason for that. So yeah, I'm just excited about the opportunity that I have now to try and make another Olympics in Paris next year. Obviously, I'm going to try and make the marathon. And yeah, it's just about, I think things need to come together, don't they? Like things need to, I know that, you know, my experience shows that they need to come together at the right time, and you need like some things you can control, and you want to try and do everything that you can to try and help them to come together at the right time. And yeah, that's what I'll be trying to do, and hope that it all works out. And I believe that I've got the ability to do it. And you know, I've already run 2:25:10. I think that I know that I can run faster than that on a good day, and with a really good build. And so yeah, that's the goal. And again, super privileged that I'm in this position. Didn't actually expect to be, I want to say, because wasn't sure whether I would be a good marathoner or not. Before I ran my first one, I was like, what if I'm not good at this? I remember saying that to my best friend, and she's like, yeah, but what if you're bloody amazing? And I kind of thought, oh well, yeah, that's like, it's a really good way to go about it. Like, what if, why not me? And I think it's just the same headspace and stance again of like, what could be possible here? This is exciting. I get to be part of this. And yeah, especially because it's probably the most competitive that we've ever had, the biggest depth of that we've ever had, especially in female marathon running in Australia. So super exciting time, and super challenging to make teams, but you got to level up, otherwise you won't go. So I'm just trying to level up.
It's a really good point. It's exactly what I was going to touch on, Elsie, is the extraordinary depth and talent at the moment. It gets talked about all the time, and rightfully so, female marathoning in Australia. How do you go about it? Because there's times being, Australian records by Sinead Diver, gold medals by Jess Stenson, crazy times by Lisa Waitman. Like, obviously you're really happy for one another, but at the same time, there's 3 spots for the Olympics. So I'm just really interested here, because we hear a lot of, I'm so happy for her, but at the end of the day, like, there's 3 spots, right? There's got to be a little bit of rivalry. Is there anything in your mind where it's like, I'm okay if I don't go because there's 3 better athletes than me going? Or like, is there anything, or is it just, no, I'm 100% happy and that's all there is to it. The 3 best athletes will be there on the day. I'm just really curious on that, because I don't know whether it would be the same on the men's side.
I think you should, like, if you think about it like this, for me, it's them running well isn't taking anything away from me. Like, and nobody else running well. And I know that some people go, yeah, but they might run faster than you and take the Olympic spot. No, they didn't. I just didn't run as fast as them. That's on me. So I can celebrate them, because ultimately that's going to make me faster. And also, it's inspiring what Sinead is doing, and Lisa is doing, and Jess has done. Like, it's incredibly inspiring. And it has made me believe that, I've got many more good years in my career left. And if I didn't have that, I don't know if I would be thinking that. If I didn't have, like, women that are older than me, that are, more advanced at the marathon distance than me, still running, still killing it, breaking the Australian record, I don't know if I'd, they're an example for me to look up to. And so it helps. It actually helps. So, and I think if you live your life being worried about someone getting ahead of you, I just know that it's never helped me before. And I know that I've had experience of being through that mindset of going, oh, like, I don't want to see, like, I've been through that, and it's not helped me. It's not been open. It's actually not who I am inherently as well. Like, I actually am really open. I'm at my best when I'm cheering other people on, because I know that I'm cheering myself on just as loud. And when I'm not doing that, it means that I'm not cheering. Like, I don't have no belief in myself. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I see it. And yeah, I mean, it's good. It's all good. it means if you're on the Olympic team next year, you're on the, you know, if you're on the Olympic team next year, you're meant to be there. And and I think I'm patriotic like that too. I'm kind of like, I just want to, I truly want to see the best 3 women go. And if I want that to be me, desperately want that to be me, doing everything I can for that to be me. And, but ultimately it will be the best 3 women that will go. And part of that is in my control and part of it is not. And the part that's not, I don't have to worry about because I can't control it. You know? So yeah, there it is. It helped. I think it's much more in my personality to be really light and open and encouraging and cheer others on, because I know that that's coming from who I am inherently as a person and authentically as a person, rather than being I don't know, rigid. If that's a word. Rigid or just worried about, you know, people getting ahead, because I actually think that worrying about people getting ahead of you, it doesn't help you make good decisions about your training, about your racing, that you're actually trying to force it too much. And I don't want to live like that.
That's a great answer. I think it's such a metaphor for not only how you approach life and marathon, but also how you approach your races as well. And it's such a I feel like a mentally healthy approach to it. I knew exactly how you're going to answer that question. I only say that because I feel like a lot of athletes wouldn't have the same approach, and maybe that is you know, not part of their undoing, but maybe they would be better athletes if they had that slightly better. And again, it comes back to that mental state of mind, whether they actually approach not only races, but qualifying for an event and, you know, looking too much as World Athletics ranking tables and, you know, and Strava profiles and this sort of thing. So, no, I really appreciate that response. Thank you. Elsie, I've taken up way too much, probably double of your lunch break. Thank you so much again for your time. So the next 15 months are so exciting for any athlete, any track and field athlete. The Paris Olympics, hard to believe, are only 3 years after Tokyo, and it's like half the time's already passed after that. A lot of people will be sort of in that Olympic cycle at the moment. What does the next sort of 12 to 15 months look like for you? And I guess, again, outside of times of performance, what are you looking for from yourself as an athlete?
Yeah, well, outside of times and performance, I really just want to stay in the moment as much as I can, like staying in the present moment. I know what I want to achieve, like I know the big goal, but then just coming back to step by step, what do I need to do day by day that's going to take me in that direction? And then if I know that if I focus on that and be intentional about, you know, just the day to day and, you know, being present in what I can control each day, then I'll end up where I want to be, instead of completely fixating on this huge goal ahead and making it really stressy and I don't know, pressurized and, you know, losing sleep over it. I don't think it takes you in the direction that you want to go. And I think it actually, again, it doesn't allow you to make good decisions about your body and about training. And I need to do that because, you know, Nick and I train, he coaches me by correspondence. And yes, I have Johnny and Rory and other people to tell me how I'm looking at the track and how I'm looking at training and listen to different cues. But ultimately I need to make good decisions around when to back off, or, you know, when to have a rest day or things like that. And those things added together, they make a big difference. And having the mindset of, okay, what do I need to do today to make me feel good on this date, and to make, and to make me like get the best performance that I can on this date. And just, controlling, as I said, controlling the things that I can control is how I'm going to go about it.
Eloise, thank you so much for your time. This has been such a cool talk. A little bit of running, a little bit of love mercy talk, mental state of mind talk. It's been really informing as well as entertaining. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the day in the Love Mercy office. Keep doing great things with your life, and I'm sure that we'll check in with you after the next race or two, and chat soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jimmy. Love your work, mate.